courage doesn't mean it has to be perfect. Courage just means you're willing to actually do something. You're willing to put action behind your thoughts. You're willing to go after what you desire. So don't think your courage is something that calls for perfection. Neither does confidence. So it's not about perfection. It's just about moving. Welcome to another session of Strategies for Creatives. My name is Chris Branham, and today we are talking about creative endurance, how to finish strong. Let's brainstorm. All right, so this is one that is close and near and dear to my heart because I don't know about you, but I have literally struggled with the endurance and the ability to keep going after I start something. So what does that really even impact? How does it work? Like, what is the downfalls and stuff like that? Well, for me, it was being extremely creative, having a great idea, starting out with a concept or a vision or very excited about something, and then tailoring off and just realizing like I didn't finish it. It's kind of over in the corner, it's collecting dust. And this is usually not things for my clients. This is usually personal items, but it could be both. It could be for clients. It could be for work, but it also could be just for your expression and your hobbies. How do you stay consistent and finish strong in your creative endeavors? Well, here's a few things that I've noticed from me personally and also talking to others that I may have mentored, young and old, doesn't really matter, but just looking at what is really affecting them. The first thing that I looked at was it all starts with your enthusiasm. So how excited are you initially? Like, are you really, really excited? Are you kind of sort of excited? That kind of makes a play on what you're doing. And it kind of affects the longevity of what you're doing because you could be very excited on the outward, but not excited inwardly. Not excited to your core, really like, I really want to get this thing done. And now you're talking about your will or your idea and concept behind whatever you desire to do, rather than just coming up with a concept and just wanting to do it just because you want to do it. So that enthusiasm is major, which also speaks to your intensity. So how intense and excited are you about that thing? Because sometimes initially you might not be intensely going after something. When I think of intensity, I usually think of sports, or I think of the gravity that Christ might have had going to the cross. The intensity behind it was, even though he wasn't excited about it, his effort and his enthusiasm towards what he was doing was very specific, and it was very poignant in what he was doing. When you look at athletes, when they're training, when they're trying to figure out what they desire to do, it is very intense because they have an end goal. They have something that they're going after. Now, here's the thing about it. Your end goals can fluctuate, they can change. So you want to have something at least that you can stand on in the beginning, stand on business and all that kind of stuff. Are you really going to finish it? You can have a feeling about it, but the real part about it is, did you make it up in your mind to actually finish the project, and that you're going to do it regardless of how long it takes, regardless of other things and sacrifices and stuff like that. So that's the enthusiasm behind it, is, are you willing to sacrifice to get to the end goal? The other thing that I noticed too is, this is major for me, distractions. Right? How do you get rid of distractions? How are distractions getting in the way of your creative endurance? Because now you're running the race of what you desire to do, and all of a sudden you get a phone call, or you get a text, or someone asks you to do something, or there's a birthday party. There's so many things that can come up, or there's another item that has actually more leverage and what's the word I'm looking for? More importance in what you're doing, and now you're trying to figure out which one should you do first. And are you going to do that thing for a minimal amount of time, or is it going to take up a totality of all the time that you've already allocated towards doing what you want to do? So that's going to be very significant in making that decision when you start. What distractions are you going to allow in, and what distractions are you going to keep out? The less is more, and zero is even better. So when you think about that, make it up in your mind before you even start. I don't want to be distracted. I want to make sure everything is cut out, and I'm not going to allow other things to get in my way. Usually 3 areas that come along with distraction is your eye gate, your ears, and the other one that most people don't think about is your thoughts. So what thoughts are actually pulling you, pushing you, directing your path, playing with your subconscious, playing with your conscious, and kind of getting away. And then your eyes can easily be the first thing, because if you're not focused on what you're doing and actually laser focused on what you're doing, you can easily get distracted. One thing, when I'm really focused on something, I turn off my phone. I put it on airplane mode, or there's a function within the phone that actually allows you to turn the screen gray. I'll put it in the link below of the YouTube that I found to actually turn it off. And that also helps too with distractions, because now you're not allowing color or variations, if you're not colorblind, to affect you while you're doing something. And the last one is your ears. What are you listening to? What has your attention? Is it people? Is it music? Because sometimes music can be distractions. Trying to have background noise can be distractions. I used to put on movies for background noise, and all of a sudden I catch myself looking at them. Or the energy behind the movie was so intense that it was actually affecting me listening or paying attention to what I'm doing. So when I found out my real effectiveness, it was honestly just being silent, being in a closed environment with no distractions, not even music sometimes, depending on what amount of focus I needed. If I was needing to solve a problem or come up with solutions, it was zero music, it was no movies, it was nothing. And it was literally just focused on that thing. So depending on what it is, be honest with yourself and figure out what is going to be your distraction while you're trying to have creative endurance. And the other thing I like to think of too is, are you mentally ready for what you're excited to do? Are you prepared to do what's necessary? And sometimes that means your, not just your focus, not just your mental, not just distractions, but also your skill set. Are you skilled enough to even do what you desire, or are you going to have to learn along the way while you're building out what you desire and having that creative endurance to finish the race? Because sometimes you need to learn skills along the way, but are you a quick learner? Do you need to take your time? Do you need to kind of pause and relax? And sometimes those pauses cause your momentum to slow down, and you don't have the longevity because it's taking you longer to understand something. One thing that I like to think of the most is, what all is it going to take before I start? How many things do I need to know? What tools do I need to have? What individuals I might need to be connected with? What type of products might be supportive in this? Those are all important pieces. But I want to finish out what is needed to finish strong. So this is what I came up with. This is my own concept, just based on what I've gone through and other people that I've helped and supported and might have coached, or just had, one-on-one conversations and kind of figured out what is the real issues. Well, the first one is confidence. Are you confident enough about what you're doing? If you have the ability to know what you're doing and feel comfortable in it, your confidence is going to build, and you're going to feel more excited and more efficient to finish what you start. If you don't have the level of confidence, sometimes you might fall back and might be a little bit complacent and timid about going after what you're desiring, because you're not sure if you can complete the task, or you're not sure if you're even skilled enough to do it. So your confidence is key when you start something, to have that creative endurance. The second thing is courage. Are you willing to even start it? Are you willing to put your foot down, start taking steps, start actually putting effort to what you desire to do, and you're willing to do what's necessary? Courage doesn't mean it has to be perfect. Courage just means you're willing to actually do something. You're willing to put action behind your thoughts. You're willing to go after what you desire. So don't think your courage is something that calls for perfection. Neither does confidence. So it's not about perfection, it's just about moving. And then your skill. So you do have to have a level of skill depending on what you're desiring to finish strong in when you come to creative endurance. Because if you desire to do something that may not be in your wheelhouse, that means you don't have the skill yet in order to complete the task. So what do you need to do in order to learn, educate, understand, and be a master, or at least dangerous in that area, to actually finish what you're starting with the skills that's required? Because you can be extremely gifted, but the skills don't match up with what you're trying to complete, or the task that you desire to have. You have to bring those skills up in order to make it make sense, or that will cause some stagnant moments in your creative endurance. And the last one is your will to act. So that comes with the courage, but this is actually the push. You doing something and doing it effectively and significantly in the path, and you're doing it consistently. Because you can have the will to act to start, almost like turning the key on a car, or the baby's first steps, right? But if the baby doesn't keep walking, if you don't drive, if you don't put it in drive, that car in drive, it won't go anywhere. You'll just be sitting idle. So you want to actually be pushing yourself to something rather than just saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. That also causes a bottleneck, roadblocks, and also causes deficiency when it comes to creative endurance. Because the whole goal for endurance is for longevity. It's not a sprint. Endurance is for long distance. Endurance is for completing something that's going to take some time. So whatever you desire to do, it's going to push you to be very focused and create some level of endurance over time. Hope this helps somebody. Like, subscribe, hit me in the comments below. I would love to hear how you guys are actually pushing towards your goals and becoming creative individuals that are pushing with momentum and have that endurance to finish the race. If you don't, hit me up in the comments below as well. I would love to hear from you. We can chat, we can talk about it and figure out what's some skills that can actually support you outside of what I listed in order for you to ramp up your creative endurance. Peace.